Terrahz. I'm just bringing you 3 different videos here. The first video is going to be about in-depth look at the actual build itself and all the moves of the Esper healing. The second one is going to be all about Esper amps, and the third video will be about my build in particular. So you skip to whichever one you want to do, or you could look at all 3. Right, here they go. Hey guys, this is Terrahz from Carbine Gaming. Just coming here to give you a video here, an in-depth video on Esper healing builds and a guide. Just a quick thing going through builds and amps. Again, we can't have a definite answer until the final builds come out and we actually get the stats on each of the abilities, but I can run through them here now with yourselves, what they do and my thoughts on them, as well as the amp system for those of you that don't know what it is yet. First of all, I'll introduce myself. I go in game by the name Terrahz. I'm in Carbine Gaming at the moment. All those links are down below if you want to check them out. I've been playing different games like WoW and SWTOR. And WoW, I got 2.4k in Arena and 2.6k in RBGs. In SWTOR, just messing around in Inquisitor for a while. Again, there's a few links below if you want to check that out. It's a pretty old game now anyway, so it's probably a bit irrelevant now, but we'll run through this. Let's go on to this, talk about this site first. The site here, again, the links are below. It is called wsbase.com. Basically, this site gives you a simulator into your class's abilities, their action set builder, as well as the amp system. So I found this very helpful, even though we don't know the final stats yet. It just gives you a bit of a look into your character, what his playstyle is going to be, and what it looks like he's going to be speccing into. Again, we will talk through all this here now. So if you get onto the site there, you're going to see that the first thing you see on the main page is that you can actually log in and register. I do advise doing this at the start, because if you log in and register, you can actually save your build at the end. If you don't log in, you create a build and then you actually register after you create your build, you will lose everything that you put down, which if you didn't write it down can be a very painful thing to do. Okay, so first thing I would say is register up here. After you do, you can actually create as many builds as you like. You can save your builds or you can change them at any time. You can actually put your builds up for other people to look at, to actually rate your own builds. I have that here now, and I'll show you a bit later on my own builds, but I'm just going to run through basically abilities and all that, and I'll show you my build at the end. So you can skip on the video there if you want to get onto that quicker. Okay, so first thing I'm going to check out here is the class. So you've got your warrior, spell slinger, your engineer, your medic, your stalker, and your esper. So what we're talking about mainly today is going to be Esper healing. That's going to be hopefully my main thing to do now when the game comes out. So we'll click into it here. So Esper, the first thing to talk about the Esper is actually up here before we talk about anything else. So up here is basically your stats for the Esper. These are the 6 stats in the game. They're brutality, finesse, moxie, tech, insight, and grit. So you can actually see up here that this goes for all classes. It'll show you what you get for 1 point in each. Now again, these are liable to change when it actually comes out, but it does give you a type of overall view of what's going to be most important. So you see here now, for the Esper healer, you get your support power from insight. For those of you that don't know, basically our healing power is from support power. So the support tree here is also our healing tree, which I'll go through now. Okay, the second thing we need to look at here is your action builder set. Now those of you see all these abilities here that haven't actually seen Wildstar yet, you don't actually get to use all these abilities. See the way now we've got 3 tabs of abilities, you can only choose 8 of them out of the possible 30 abilities. Okay, so those 8 abilities will go up here onto your action set bar, and you can make them stronger or weaker by tearing them up using your points, which I'll explain as we go along, or you can just leave them the same. Okay, so we go on to our trees here. First tree is your assault tree. Your assault tree is a type of basically your DPS tree. So if you're going for DPS, these are all your moves here. You can check them all out. I'm not going in depth on DPS in this video, mainly because I'm here to talk about healing. You can check these all out on the site if you want. I might release a DPS video more, but there's a lot more, what will I say, type of try and test thing with DPS specs to see what your highest DPS can be. So until that comes out, or I get into the beta, and like a lot of other people have got into the beta already, I won't be able to know 100% until I get into it myself. Okay, so this is your support tree. The support tree is your healing tree. This is where you're going to get most of your abilities from. Okay, now most people are staring at this 41 out of 41 available points, having no idea what it is. You can't have 41 abilities, I'm afraid. Basically what it is a tiering system. Okay, so we're going to look at our first move and I'll explain it as we go. So mind over body, it's basically you stand still and you unleash your big heal. That's a 2.75 second cast. Now again, these are all liable to change, but just something just to, you know, give you a quick thought before the game comes out. And it's stationary, meaning you cannot move when you're casting this. If you move, it's going to cancel the cast, and there's no cooldown on it. Now for those who don't know about Wildstar a lot, this is called a builder. In Wildstar you're going to have builders and finisher moves. Your builder moves is basically your builder is something to increase your power, and then your finisher uses up that power that you build using your builders. So the finishers are always a lot stronger than your actual builders themselves, but they usually cost a lot more, or you have to unlock them by using your builders themselves. Okay, so this is the first builder. Now as you see, it restores a large amount of health. Now on this website it does give you some sort of idea of what heals for more, what heals for less, because on the abilities, I'm just going to go down to the second ability here. You'll see now bolster is a type of heal over time heal. You see now that restores 1 health to yourself or an ally, so it shows that it's a lot weaker heal than mind over body, which restores 6 health to yourself and an ally. Again, it won't give you the stats yet because we don't actually know them, what it's going to be the final stats, but it does give you an idea which spells are going to be stronger and which spells are going to be weaker, which I like a lot about this. Okay, so mind over body. First thing we'll do is I'll talk about tiering here, and then I'll get into my views over the ability. So the tiering here is you have to press the little plus button here, and it goes onto your action set builder. So you got 7 more abilities left if you do choose to use mind over body. Okay, so the tier, or where you spend your points here, is the tiering it up. So if you want to tier this up, as you can see, there's tier 4 major upgrade and tier 8 major upgrades. The tier 4 stores an additional 10 health when your target is over 65% health, and then the tier 8 there is Spectral Lantern grants insight, increases focus recovery by 10%. Now focus recovery is basically your mana in this game, so this can be very good or very bad. Again, I'll run through that now after we go through this tier section. So now every time you put a point on tier, all the way from tier 1 to tier 3, it costs you 1 point each. Tier 4 will cost you 5 points. Tier 5 through 7 will cost you 1 point each again, and then tier 8 will cost you 5 points. So tier 4 and tier 8 cost you 5 points each, and then all the other tiers cost you only 1 point. Okay, so that's good to know here. At the end of your builds, if you do maximize your build, you can have 2 abilities that are tier 8 and 1 ability that's tier 6. So that's using all of your available points. Okay, so mind over body. Now, a lot of people will choose this move. I'm not a massive fan of it. I'll tell you why. 2.75 seconds. Again, this is going to be lowered by your cooldown reduction from your amps and lowered by your gear, I suppose. But it's a lot of time to be staying stationary. I'm not a great fan. I've always liked jumping around. I used to play Druid Healer in WoW. I always liked jumping around and have the ability to always move around at my leisure. The great thing about this ability is it's a targeted heal, so you don't have to run after people to use this heal or try to, you know, hit them while they're jumping around the place. So it's a lot easier heal to land, which is why I would see people use it. It's got no cooldown, so you can spam it. It is your builder, so you can spam it as much as you like. The focus cost, you have 1,000 focus at the start of the game. Again, you can increase this by your amps or your gear, I would imagine, but it doesn't cost that much when you really think about it that way. 35 out of 1,000, so it is quite spammable. The reason I do not like this move is the Spectral Lantern. I think it's wasted pretty much, because if it's a dungeon or PvP you're looking at, Spectral Lantern grants Bastion to nearby allies, increasing outgoing healing by 2%. So basically it gives the lantern to an ally, not yourself, increasing his outgoing healing by 2%. So basically it just gives healing to people that don't actually use the healing ability. Like if a Spectral Lantern is placed where the ally is, and your ally, say, is the tank, unless you've got a healer beside your tank, it's not benefiting anyone. And if somebody's out of place, which is when you're going to be using mind over body, because you can't see him or he's too far out of range to land your soothe ability, or if you choose soothe or not, we'll go down and explain that in a minute. This is when you'd use the move, and you're going to leave the Spectral Lantern in a place where most people will not use it. In dungeons, I think this move, the Spectral Lantern's a total waste. In raids, it can be useful if you have a medic healer, and the medic healer's up close and personal with the tanks, and he gains the 2%. But if most of you don't know, Espers will be mainly tank healers. I say mainly because other classes can heal. I do see the Esper being the main tank healer though. I don't think anybody will deny that. So most of your heals will be going onto the tank, and that's where your Spectral Lanterns are going to land and stack. So again, not my most favourite ability, but it is a decent ability anyway. We're going to have to see how it plays out in the raids. Now the tier 4 for it, 10% health when target is over 65% health. Again, not my favourite. I suppose it would be good. 65% health. It would be good now if the tanks is not taking a mass amount of damage, or you're just topping up people as quickly as you can. And I see it is traditionally good purposes, but if tanks take massive amount of damage, usually from bosses, as they usually do in most games, I see them going under 65% health a lot. So you'd have to keep them topped up and type of maybe spam this ability on them to get the effect out of that. And then your tier 8, your Spectral Lantern grants focus recovery. Now this can be great because a lot of classes do use focus as their source of their abilities. This includes DPS and all that, so this might actually be an ability that you would tier up, because if you put that down now where the tanks are, most of the melee will actually benefit from this as well, increasing their recovery rates so they can use moves faster, increasing their overall DPS. So this could be a move for raids. Again, I'm not a massive fan of it, but it could be a move that is required for raiding. We move down to our second ability there, Bolster. Bolster is basically your heal over time spell. Again, it generates a side point. It's another builder type move. It actually has a cooldown of 10 seconds, so you can't spam it. I do like this move. I did actually put it in my final build because a friend of mine that actually has the beta says that it doesn't heal for that much. Again, in my final build I probably will put it in, but it depends really what the final stats are on it. Again, its range is 35 meters, so it is a great move, and again it's a targeted heal, so you don't have to be running after people aiming at them, so it does reduce the skill cap of the class by quite a lot using these two abilities here itself. Collective Will is your third move here. Collective Will is what we call the finisher move. We were talking about it earlier. You actually use the builders, your side points, for this class. When you build up abilities or use Mind Over Body, you'll gain a side point, and this is the ability to use your side points on. So the more side points you have, you can stack them up to 5. The stronger this ability is when you use it. So it's probably best to stack up 5 if ever possible, and then use this ability afterwards if you need basically AoE healing. That's what it's for. Per point, per side point, you'll do a certain amount of healing, AoE healing. Now I did pick this in my final build. I'll go through it when we get to there. The tier 4, increase additional 50% to allies below 35% health. I think this would be very valuable if you're solo healing something, but raid healing wise, I'm not a massive fan of it. I'll talk again now, because the other healers you have out there have a lot of AoE healing, especially medics have a lot of AoE healing, and I don't think it'll be your job to rescue people from below 35% health. I think that would be their abilities to save them, and you just maybe top them up or keep the tanks up. I don't think this will be your role unless you're solo healing. Again, I might be wrong, but this is definitely my view of it. The tier 8 grants yourself a beacon, increasing incoming healing by 50%. I don't rate that at all. I think it's a total waste of points. Unless you're playing PvP, it would be a great ability for PvP. For PvE, not so much. You're trying to keep other people alive as well as yourself, instead of just kind of hogging on the healing yourself. Next ability, Phantasmal Armor. Now this is the big ability for Espers. It's basically a shield that you can put on yourself, a +1 interrupt armor. So the shield, it's a big shield now. It's 7 absorb, so it's actually, even in raiding to your Mind Over Body, which is probably one of your strongest heals, you know, it actually has 1 more even on this side here. So it's just giving you a sense of this ability is going to be strong, and the cooldown is quite short, 45-second cooldown. So you know, under that minute type of area, 48 focus doesn't cost you loads. And again, you can tier it up to increase the absorb effect, reduce the cooldown by 5 seconds for your tier 4. Your tier 8 grants additional interrupt armor, so the tank can't be CC'd, and increases his magical resistance by 15%. Not a massive fan of the tier 8. It would be good against magic damage bosses. I could see it tapping into that. Otherwise, I would never probably use it. The tier 8 and that. Your next ability here, Soothe. Soothe now is my favourite over Mind Over Body. Basically what it does here is you're allowed to move and heal at the same time. Okay, stores health to you and your two most injured allies and generates also a psi point, which is a builder as well. Okay, now for this move as well, you can actually use it instantly. You can see here it's C1, C2, C3. That's how long you hold the ability. If you just press it instantly, you'll use 12 of your focus and it'll heal for 2 health. If you hold it for longer, for 1.25 seconds, it'll use more of your focus and heal for more. If you hold it for the full 2-second charge, it'll use more of your focus, but it'll heal for a lot more. So this is a great ability. Like if you had to move and heal at the same time, but you just spam, the instant cast and get loads of healing out. There would be weak healing, but you could heal on the move, which is one of my favourites. And when you're actually stationary, you can sit there for the cast time and you get big heals out. What I do like about this move, if you look at the tier 4 upgrade here, it reduces the cast time by 0.5 seconds. So that's a 2-second cast in the end. Again, it'd be reduced by cooldowns and such and such. So, in essence, I would like to see if I spam my Mind Over Body and then spam this move, due to the fact that it's a lower cooldown, will I actually get more healing per second using this move, or will I have to be using Mind Over Body? I did go with Soothe in my final build. I do think it's a lot better to have. Again, it's down to personal play styles. And again, the tier 8 for this move restores an additional health every 1 second for 4 seconds, so it gives you a bit of a hot at the end. It's not an extremely powerful hot, as you can see, but it's still going to be something at the end which can be quite useful to leave people that are, say, 90-95% health. You won't have to heal them again. That will finish them off. Focus Relief is another one of your finishers. Basically, it's going to be your finisher using the side points to heal a single target for a huge amount. As you can see here now, 5 PP, it's rated as 9 health, which is a time and a half of your Mind Over Body. So it's a big heal putting on a single target. This would be great for tank healing. I didn't pick it in my final spec because Espers focus a lot on single target healing, while you need to mix it up into a bit of AoE healing, which is why I chose Collective Will. Again, I'll explain that a bit later on. The tier 4 Grant Defense increases armor by 1 PP per side point, so it's great for single target healing. So if your objective is mainly just heal this guy and make sure he doesn't die, this is the move for you. You don't need Collective Will. Pick this. It'll give him loads of stats, especially if you're healing 2 tanks, because the tier 8 upgrade for this heal chains to 1 additional nearby ally. So if the 2 tanks are standing together, this is the move for you, and especially if you're the tank healer, you don't have to worry about any sort of ranged healing at all. This is the move for you. Now Mirage, as you see here, it says unlocked through amps. I'll explain that a bit later on when we get onto the amp section. Basically, Mirage, for those of you who haven't seen it, it's the type of yellow fishies that you see going around the place. I am not a personal fan of the animation, to be 100% honest, but some do really like it. Basically, it's a very strong heal. It's 11 health on this and generates a psi point. So I think this is a definite ability you should have. What you can do now is you can place it last 60 seconds in a target location. This is a massive thing, because before boss fights come out, you can say, hey tank, I'm going to put this over here. If you ever need it, run into it and it'll heal you a large amount. Or anybody that needs it, you can run into it. And every time somebody uses it and it's back off cooldown, and maybe you have a few seconds here and there where people are not taking loads of damage, you can set one up and you can tell them again, if you ever have a problem, if you ever get caught out, whack, here you go, take this. Now tier upgrades, again, until we see how much stats it actually upgrades, I wouldn't go into this. Reduce cast time to 2.2 seconds. I wouldn't choose that. It's on a 30-second cooldown anyway, so it's not something that you could really spam. I think the tier should be used on abilities that you can spam more, that have low cooldowns, so you get the full range of the tier rather than being limited to like once every 30 seconds. The tier 8 heals 2 additional nearby allies. Now it can be useful if the tank gets it and maybe the other tank or DPS are near him. Again, I do think this is mainly just for put behind the tanks, the 2 tanks, and whichever guy maybe doesn't have his cooldowns up and takes a big heavy hit or run into it and then run back into his place. that would be the main move for this usage for this move. Dislodge Essence, I didn't pick this. Conjure Torch lasting 6 seconds that ignites upon hitting a foe or reaching the end of its path. Generates a psi point. The torch deals magic damage to nearby foes, plus restores 1 health to nearby allies. This can be a good move. I haven't seen it ever actually used. I'd be interested to see if it used. Is it something that type of slowly goes up the line into and it runs into people, and then it affects people at the very end of the lines, or are people going to have to stay still for a certain amount of time so this ability reaches them and gets their full effect? I don't know. The focus cost looks quite high compared to other abilities as well. Again, you have to stay stationary. 1.25 seconds isn't that long, and the cooldown's quite short. So it 100 depends on how this move is going to be used and how it affects people, how long it takes to reach its destination, and if people can stay there long enough for that to happen. Now, Mental Boom. This is one of the abilities that Wildstar says the bread and butter. If you look on the Wildstar page for Esper, it says you should pick up Mental Boom. I advise against it, mainly because to restore health to yourself and the foremost injured party members, it can be good if we don't know how much health it restores as of yet. But what I don't like about it is that it uses your psi points for 80% regen of basically people's dash regeneration. I guess it can be good for use for tanks, you know, so they can maybe dodge out of more abilities, or maybe maybe types of boss fights that you need to, you know, use your dash a lot more to get out of telegraphs. Not my most favourite move. I think if people use their dashes correctly, they should not need more help from this ability to, you know, make them survive. Especially the fact that this ability is rivaling, you know, your focus relief, which is a massive heal onto one target, and then your collective will, which is healing to, which is your only type of raid heal ability. You'd have to sacrifice one of them for this, which is not my idea anyway. It's not something I would do. Tier 4 upgrade stacks 2 times. Not my favourite thing. Tier 8 grants yourself Bastion, increasing outgoing healing by 5%. That seems good, I suppose. Again, I don't rate it next to the other 2 abilities that I could pick instead of it, and the range is 15 meters as well. So you might actually, you know, most people will be, especially as Espers, will be at a decent range. So you might actually have to run in to use this move on certain people, which would again compromise your positioning. It might actually even get you killed in some places. So not my massive my choice anyway. Especially with collective will 25 meters, and then focus relief is actually 35 meters, so you can actually stay in the same positioning as you would be using your other moves, and just use this off the bat rather than having to reposition. Warden, another move that I really like actually. You conjure a Warden to restore health to yourself and allies, and it generates a psi point. This is a great move to use because basically it's a 2-second cast. You put it down. I would severely doubt that it gets affected by boss's damage abilities, so it won't die. And it basically just gives you free healing to anybody in the area, and then healing over time to them as well as generating a psi point. Now you can see that the Warden also restores 1 health to 5 allies every 2 seconds for 10 seconds, and it's a 15-second cooldown, which means the uptime for this ability will be massive. You know, you can be able to have this ability up, you know, 3/4 of the fight. So it's a big move to have. The tier 4 upgrade for Warden grants defense, increasing physical and magical resistance by 12% for 6 seconds. Again, a massive thing to have. 6 seconds every 15 seconds, your guys are taking 12% less physical and magical damage, you know, or have more physical and magical damage resistance. You know, which is a massive thing to have. I think on my final build I did tier into this. Oh, I did definitely, because a tier 8 on death Warden grants 8 damage absorption to 5 nearby allies. You know, that's so much to give to a 15-second cooldown that I think this ability, if you don't have this ability in your build as a healer, you are actually crazy, because this ability will make Espers. It'll just make your job so much easier, because it gives you absorb, it gives you healing over time, it gives you base healing the second you put it down. It's a 2-second cast when you're stationary, so it's not even that long. 42 focus, you know, so it's not even that much on the focus. The 15-second cooldown just makes it. An ability like that I think should have a much bigger cooldown than that. Again, it depends now until we get the final stats to see, but it looks really overpowered to me. Now, utility, I'm not going to talk about all the utility. A lot of it's mainly to get yourself out of trouble. I'm going to talk about the abilities that I chose. and why I didn't show some abilities. I didn't even touch these top three. I think they're more for PvP and solo leveling. That's all. You can check them out yourselves. Catharsis, that is your dispel. What I like about this dispel, actually, I didn't like it at the start because I thought it only just removed the debuff. It actually restores health as well on a 6-second cooldown. Now, on fight stat, I don't know how many fights you actually need the spell. I would imagine most fights you need the spell. But 18 focus as well for this spell, and it gives a decent amount of healing. So, again, it depends what the final stats are. I think you would need this on all the times, on all your action set builders anyway. You might be able to take this off on bosses where maybe your job is not dispelling or something. You can take something else, and it would be quite useful then to have those other abilities. Meditate, I love this ability. For those of you that have played WoW or you know about mages and WoW, especially Evocation, you stand stationary for 8 seconds and you just restore focus. It's a brilliant move. I can see it being used a lot. The timing of when you use this move is a bit crucial. 45-second cooldown, you might not think that's a lot, but it kind of is in this game. So using it during optimal times, maybe on when the damage from the boss isn't as high, is definitely key here. Or maybe when you say another healer will take over the job for a couple of seconds while you gain all of your focus back. It's a massive move to have. I think it'd be very hard to as an Esper healer with this ability. Mainly because of the low cooldown, 45 seconds. Unless you're being totally silly with your mana, I really doubt that it's going to have massive effect on you. Again, if you do have problems with your mana, you can tier this up, increasing how much focus you get back. Actually can restore health while channeling, and the tier 8 of course grants freedom immunity to CC effects while channeling. That's a total PvP ability. You know, you can sit there, heal yourself and gain your mana back, and the guy can't do anything about it. Fixation, now a lot of people have went in to try to get this ability. I haven't in my final spec. I'll show you why a bit later on, but the main reason is it costs, you have to waste too many amps to get it. And I know it looks like a really big awesome cooldown for us to have, you know, where it sets all your cooldowns, gives you 5 straight, you know, side points. You can whack that into a massive heal. Again, I'm not a fan of how many amps I have to waste to get it. Again, I'll show you a bit later on what I mean by that, but it's your personal preference. I didn't go for this. A lot of people will. In PvP, I probably will go for this because it's such a big life-saving move. But again, I think if you play the fight right with your Mirage, which is your ability there that we explained before, creates a Mirage lasting 60 seconds that your tank can run into and give himself a big heal. If you play that right, I don't think you will need this ability. Projected Spirit. Now, this is also on the website saying if you are an Esper healer, you would pick this ability. I did pick it in my final spec. It is kind of like the ability that I had a hard time trying to think about if I did want it or not. It was between this and Bolster. I think I will end up picking up Bolster depending on how much healing gives out end game. The reason I don't like this move is you have to land it on people. It has its, I won't say it doesn't have its advantages. If you're grouping up to an area, you can jump into everybody there and you can actually heal everybody. The problem with this is you have to be the last person there in order to heal everybody. If everybody's not there in time, they miss the heal, which is my big problem with it. Again, you can jump into crowds with this and heal them. If you do that, again, my biggest problem with this is once you jump into a crowd, you then have to reposition yourself in order to heal again, because you've got cast times. You're going to have to reposition yourself if you're a mind over body player and you have to cast it. It won't affect you too much if you play Soothe and you're able to move and heal at the same time, in a way, because your healing is a lot reduced when you're doing that. So even though you think this is a lifesaver move, I don't rate it, not on Esper anyway, not on a class that can't move and heal very efficiently. Because it just puts you out of place. It might take you a long time to get replaced. If a telegraph goes down, it might put you into bad situations. People use it and end up dying from using it because they jump out to save someone which is in a bad place and you both die. It just gives you a lot of chances to die in my personal opinion. Okay, so they're all the main moves you'll see in most builds for healing as an Esper. Hey guys, that's the end of this video, but I'll be coming back with the next 2 videos. You'll see them in the description below. If you do like it, let me know in the comments, or you can give me a thumbs up or subscribe to me. I will be a new streamer when Wildstar does come out, so I put down all my Facebook and my Twitch and all that down there. So you can add me or you don't add me if you like, or you can hit me up on them if you have any questions about anything. But it's all just brand new, so it's all on